Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and we're diving right back into it. We just finished up the Russell's Reserve 10-year laser code LLME 20. I decided that I'm going to stick with proof as my order, even for these wild turkey products, because this single barrel Russell's is 110 proof. This is 101, and that bottle was a 90 proofer. So we're going to get into this. So this is age stated Wild Turkey 101, 8-year. This should be, and I actually should do a comparison of this to my somewhere here. This should be comparable to this Wild Turkey Jimmy Russell 70th anniversary bottle. And let's see here. Already tapped into that. That was a really good one. But these should be pretty comparable. So this was reported to be an 8-year product as well. And then they decided that this was going to be a mainstay lineup. So you should be able to go to your local liquor store, find this almost anywhere. I, however, could not find it here in Wyoming. But I bought it online and I paid $44.99. So I paid $45 for this. You probably can find it, within $40 in that price range. But you know what? If you watch some of the other reviews of this, got really good reviews and kind of a bang for the buck for your money. It's pretty darn good. And if this is kind of what they're switching to just for their standard 101 is that they're going to an 8-year age statement, I'm not going to complain because for me, bourbon really shines in that, like I really like my Wyoming whiskey, and those are 5, 6 years old. Just kind of your average, whichever one you're picking is going to run in that range, and those are fabulous. So I'd say like bourbon really starts to shine 5, 6 years old, depending on where it's aged at. And then for me, the cutoff is kind of that 12-year mark. Um, I mean, and I always use the Pappy line to look at that. Like the Pappy 15 is not as good as the Rip Lot B 12-year stuff or even the 10-year, in my opinion. Those are far superior. So I'd rather take the Rip Van Winkles over the Pappies. But that's just my palate. The I think bourbon really tends to absorb the oak tannin from the new oak barrels too much once it gets past that 12-year time. I mean, I got like a Calumet 16, I think, in there. I wasn't super impressed with that. Um, yeah. So, anyways, all that to say that Wild Turkey 8-year. We'll see where this goes. So this on the nose, man, I got so many comparisons because I got a standard 101 down there. I have this one. You know what? We're gonna save that for another review. I think probably not today. Either that or it'll be in the next video. I don't know. Stay tuned. So on the nose, it's cherry. Oh my gosh. I mean, these two. So this is the Russell's 10 laser code LLME. This this smells like a $30 or $40 whiskey, and this smells like what you hope $100 whiskey smells like. The density. This is literally easily 5 times as dense and savory as this 8-year. This one, but man, it's still good. And you can see kind of the through line of the lineage here. But like for this being 101 and that being 90, there's no comparison. There really isn't. But you get a light cherry fruit with cherry blossom. If you're really digging, you can get a little bit of a light caramel syrup in there. And that's kind of it. A little bit of oak, but a lot of nice light fruit, sweet notes in there. Moving into the palate, Very pleasant, very nice, totally worth the 40 some odd dollars I paid. But palette's already kind of done. But it was light fruit up front, a little bit of almost like a peach, and then a cherry, some honey in there, honeysuckle sweetness. Um, the oak tannin, very similar to the Russells. The oak tannin picked up with a little bit of bitterness, oakiness, kind of the finish of the mid palate going into the beginning of the actual finish. And then that note kind of lingered for a little bit before being matched once again by a sweet note that kind of went off. But I would say the oak in this is more dominant on the finish than the sweet. They're not as well balanced. And so it's a little more oak forward on that finish as it finishes out. It's a little bit drier, little bit of bitterness to it, but still very pleasant. Nothing over the top. Just not as well balanced as that one. Nose hasn't changed, although for being 10 proof, 11 proof points higher, I'm really sticking my nose in there and not getting a whole lot more out, including the ethanol. A little more sugar on that, brown sugar, this time out of my right nostril. But go back in for a second taste. Yeah, like a peach or an apricot moves into a medicinal cherry, and it's really tying into that oak, kind of even more forward into the palate that time. So I got a slight bitterness and ethanol that pick up in the middle of the palate, that it is kind of balanced out until the finish where the oak is kind of taking over the sweetness. It's fairly well balanced in the beginning. It's more pronounced, a little bit spiky of that oak coming in, and not spiky meaning that it's like sharp. It's just the more dominating flavor in that kind of beginning, finish, end, mid palate area. It's put together well. I'd say I'm getting like 4 notes out of this, but it's nowhere near as dense as this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you really can't compare these two. They are nowhere near being on the same footing as one another. Uh, the Russells is absolutely dominating over this. However, for a reasonably priced bottle that you can pick up off the shelf easily, I would say that this is fantastic. Um, Russell's has a lot more sweet to it as well. Yeah, really, really nice. If you're a Wild Turkey fan, you're gonna love this product. It's a little bit more oak forward. 8 years is kind of coming into that realm, but it is extremely nice. If you find a bottle, I encourage you to pick it up. There's no faults with it, that's for sure. I would drink that bottle happily anytime. Um, Stay tuned for. I think we're going to do all these, and then we'll come back at a later point in time. We'll do the 101 comparison, the regular 101 that I have, and we'll also do a comparison with the 70th anniversary, the Jimmy Russell 70th. We'll do a comparison of those 3 bottles, and then also I think we'll do a comparison later on of this single barrel to that LLME laser code, and we'll see how it goes. But we'll do those videos later. Let's get through just our regular whiskey reviews here before we move on. So there we go. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Drop in the comments down below if you've had this 8-year age-stated Wild Turkey 101, what your thoughts are on it. I think, it's not mind-blowing, but for $40, $45, somewhere in that ballpark, I think it's worth having. I think it's worth that price. If you can find it cheaper than that, awesome. I think it's extremely good. And I also really, really love these turkey embossed bottles. These are bottles that I am not planning to throw out when I empty the juice that's in them. We're going to keep those around because I think they're fantastic. So, from that standpoint alone, the glass, you know, that's not cheap glass to have. So there you have it. So drop in the comments down below what your experience is with this, what you're paying for it, and anything else you have to say. For that, thank you very much. I hope you got something out of this video, and we'll catch you in the next one where we're going to Old Granddad.